it's not a sweeping reform. It's not the sort of thing that everyone would immediately go, oh, hey, that's great. But part of the quantitative analysis I did was actually preoccupied with risk to individuals, the impact it was having on their lived experience, their day-to-day life, and their well-being. And it was demonstrably very negative and is now making consistent positive change. And that was an actual policy change, but not a, it went up to the minister to be signed off, and he didn't have to worry about the ramifications.
Sounds like a very utilitarian justification there.
It's a tool.
In one sense, our biggest achievement was getting registered, and that was in 2013. So for the founding members to have whipped up the frenzy around the starting of a new party with a new combination of ideals that hadn't been thrown together before, and to get 500 people to sign up and say, yes, we are behind this, and if the Australian Electoral Commission calls us on the phone, yes, we are a member, that was a big achievement. As it goes from day to day, just building on our membership and getting better from each campaign to the next is how we look at our improvement.
Thank you very much. I'll just take the chair's right to interrupt and have a little side there that registration of a small political party is very different at the state and federal levels. It's actually easier to register federally than it is in many states for various bizarre reasons. So you need more people in your party to register in New South Wales than you do to register as a federal party. One of those lovely weird things about Australian democracy.
Blame David Leong for that.
No, you can't. You can blame Glenn Drury. He'd be proud of that, actually. So we'll go on that to the end of the line.
Personally, I'd say it was a few months ago, we had this idea of a campaign to lower people's electricity prices. We know it's a hot button issue. And my dad suggested, because they're talking about the National Energy Guarantee. So my dad goes, oh, what about cheap energy guarantee? And I thought, that sounds pretty good actually, I might work on that. So I spent a caffeine-riddled weekend typing up this 40-page report, just compiling research from all sorts of sources to argue, I guess, our policy propositions. And we put out a media release and we send it out. Now, often when you do something like this, you don't know if anyone's going to pick up on it. Why would they listen to the small organization, out there in the conversation, chucking a pebble into a whirlpool? But it got picked up by Sky News, and they interviewed me on TV. Now, Sky News doesn't have the kind of reach that Channel 7 or 10 has, but they're key people who watch this and follow this section of the media because it is, sort of, you could say, partisan media. And off the back of that, we got a few articles out there, we got some traction, and we got meetings with, obviously, right-wing MPs on power right now, and they follow right-wing media. And they met with us and they read my report, which I think I was quite happy with that. I got out of uni last year and I've got pole position reading something I wrote on electricity. And yeah, I guess personally that's probably my biggest.
All right, and because I'm not a very nice person, what was your biggest failure? And why do you think it failed? Specifically, what could have been changed to make it successful? What resources, for example, could have been added to make it successful? So have to think about that. And all of you have to think about that too.
I can speak to that, I think. Again, I'm not going to tell you specifically what it was. I can tell you it involves essentially inter-organisation regulation and the fact that often that just doesn't happen. That the same policy can apply across an entire cluster as far as the cabinet and that side of government is concerned. But when it comes to the practice of the public service, you can have entirely discrete organisations, one of whom just isn't towing the line on a particular element. And even if you, as the minister's office or whatever part of that ministry or the department, have a responsibility for trying to enact that policy within that part of the cluster, it's not always practically possible, particularly when you have industrial bodies or anything else involved. And so we went through a series of workshops and investigatory efforts, and basically I've left the unit responsible for that, but it was going nowhere fast, and that was the end of 6 to 7 months worth, not of full-time work, but of a very major part of our time was spent on it. And it's essentially a wicked problem, and it's the sort of thing that would need a sweeping reform to fix potentially within the department. So yeah, sometimes coordination issues and culture are things that you just cannot change without either the mandate or the established relationships. And if you're not in a position to spend the next 5 years working on those established relationships and changing the culture, then no amount of policy is necessarily going to fix it. Sometimes throwing any amount of policy at it will make it far, far worse because it antagonises the cultural divide between the different organisations.
Not just because it's something close to my heart. It's, I don't think we have a huge, like a bomb failure that I can recall. Just when it comes to things that we could be doing better, being a bit more strict perhaps in our internal structure, so that we're ready like a coiled spring when a by-election is called. That's,
I don't like the term failure. I prefer setback, because just because you fail doesn't mean that you can't change the policy 5 or 10 years from now. The government had come up with this idea for, we used to have an exemption for the GST on stuff you ordered online that was below $1,000 in value. And then the government said, not only are we going to remove the exemption, but we're going to force eBay and Amazon to collect it. So that adds further costs for consumers. And we wrote a big submission, we appeared in front of the committee, we wrote op-eds on this issue, and it didn't ultimately work because the government was so determined to get this passed that they just pushed it through. We got it, I should say we got it, but the government did agree to delay it by a year, but that wasn't a big win. They ultimately went in with what they were doing. I guess sometimes you just have to accept that no matter how hard you work on it, just the climate isn't right for it and the government just wants to get something done. So, it's the luck of the draw. You pick your battles and you hope things work out.
Now, thinking about your successes and setbacks, if someone was moved by what you're saying, and you get a chance to have 5 minutes to talk about your individual organization and pitch at the end, if someone is moved by that, what is the marginal difference they could make, and how would they make that? Would it be donating money, donating time? What is the best way they could influence change in your area, and how much change could they affect? And we'll come back down. Satya, you start.
Sure. So the easiest thing you can is just, other than donate to us, which would be great because that puts omelets on my table. We often do online, not petitions, but contact your MP forms. So it's completely automated. There's text that you can edit yourself based on a campaign that you agree with us on, and it tracks on your IP, and it goes straight to your local representative. Or sometimes, if the decision maker is a minister, it goes straight to the minister. And if enough people fill out our form, and there are offices being bombarded by hundreds of these emails, whether they're automated or not, that's something that gets the minister to actually make a public statement. Often all you really need is for someone who hasn't taken a public position on an issue to come out saying, okay, I think this is a problem and this is my position. So in as little as 10 seconds, you can help us to potentially get there. The other thing you can do besides donating, I guess, is you just read the stuff that we've written, and sometimes we look for volunteers for our campaigns. We look for people who can come out, help us get the message out there, hand out flyers at elections, not campaigning for a party, but campaigning saying, this issue is important, and this is what the Labour guy believes, this is what the Liberal guy believes, and this is what the other guy believes. So we did that for the legalized